Consonants are any letter that is not a vowel. Vowels are A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. Consonants like to close our mouth. The sound when it's coming out is either blocked or partially blocked by the tongue, teeth, or lips. Whereas vowels, your mouth is open and voiced, and the sound goes on and on and on. And vowels, even though there's only 5 letters, when they are all by themselves, they either have 2 sounds, and when the vowels are put together, they have even more sounds. So they actually tend to be the trickiest to learn. The letter C has 2 sounds, both the k and the s sound. The best way to understand this is to understand the C train. When a C is before a, O, U, or any consonant, it's going to make the k, 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 k sound. But when the train is on the tracks and it comes in front of a flag, so if the C comes before an E, I, or Y, that flag is going to change the train's tracks, and now it's going to say s, 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 as in scent and cycle. Similarly, the G has 2 sounds, and it also can be learned by looking at the G train. The G train, when the G comes before A, O, U, or any consonant, the G is going to say g, 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 like goat or grid. But if a G comes before E, I, or Y, that flag is going to tell us that it's going to change tracks. Most likely it's going to say j, 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 like gym, gem, or giant, but it can still say g, as in giggle, geese. The N has 2 sounds. The first is the most common sound, and this is what your mouth looks like when you're making the common sound for N. That would be n, like as in nose or noodle or nest. The tip of the tongue, the front part of the tongue, is actually coming up and blocking the sound at the front of your mouth right behind the teeth. The other sound for N looks like this. This would be like in the word sink or single. And this is where the tongue is still blocking the sound completely. In both of these, the sound is coming out the nose, but the sound is being blocked by the tongue again, but instead of being blocked by the tip of the tongue at the front of the mouth, this is being blocked by the back of the tongue at the back of the mouth, getting the mouth ready to say a sound that is formed at the back of the throat, like a G or a K. The S has 2 sounds. It can make S or Z. Both sounds, your mouth is doing the exact same thing with the teeth touching each other and blocking the sound from coming out. But the only difference between the 2 sounds is one is voiced and one is unvoiced. I like to tell students that the letter Z is at the end of the alphabet, and he is so sad. He does not want to be at the end of a word, so he doesn't even like to be in the middle of words. So the alphabet agreed that if he would be the last in the alphabet, they wouldn't put him at the end of words. So he is often found only at the beginning of words. The letter Z is only found at the beginning of words. Whereas if you hear the Z sound in the middle or end of a word, it is often spelled with an S, or maybe an S with a silent E after it. X is the only letter in the alphabet that has 1 letter, but actually is made up of 2 sounds. The letter X is made up of the combination of the K and the S sound, so it sounds kind of like X. Ks. And if you say it fast, ks, like in box. So make sure you're saying the 2 sounds. Q is a unique letter in that he is rarely seen in the English language by himself. You might find him by himself if he is in words that are coming from other languages, but in the English language, Q does not like to be by himself. he likes his best friend, and I often say to students that the Q is actually pointing to his best friend, and he says, "You are my best friend." So whenever you write a Q, you want to make sure that he is pointing to his best friend, and his best friend needs to be right there. When you're reading and you see the Q, U together, they are never acting like a vowel. Even though you see the vowel U right after them, they are never acting like vowels. They are so happy to be together that they don't act like a vowel. And they are actually making the two letters are making the two sounds k, woo, like cool, like queen. So we want to make sure that we teach students these two letters and these two sounds, making sure the W sound is very clear with the lips staying rounded the whole time. But also, it's not going to act like a vowel. So you want to make sure that when students are spelling that they're still putting a vowel after this and they're not treating this as a vowel because it's not saying any vowel sounds. It is also helpful when looking at letters to look at which ones are voiced and which ones are unvoiced. And there are many letters beyond these ones that are voiced or unvoiced, but these ones are especially interesting because the letters on the left are all voiced, but if you look straight across, the mouth placement is exactly the same. The only thing that changes is that these ones are voiced and these ones are unvoiced. So when you say the V sound, your mouth is doing the exact same thing, only just turning the voice off when you say the F sound. And the same thing goes with the D and the T, the G and the K, B, P, Z, and S. So if a student, for example, might be having a difficult time saying the K sound, I might have them talk about the G sound because maybe they can say that one correctly, and I'm just going to tell them to just take the voice off. Or maybe a student is having difficulty saying the V sound, but they can make the F. Sometimes going back and forth really helps students learn about it. So if you can, before you go on to the next page, say each sound of each letter going across in the direction we read and write, starting at the top, and then make sure you are getting them correctly. So this one is V, D, T, G, K, B, P, Z, S. Now you try.